Hi, everybody. Dhaman Mehta here, and thank you for once again joining me on my journey as I go through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. Let's just dive in. 7 more stories for you guys, with starting with All Full of That Wizard Angst by CalamityJim. This is a short, Harry Potter fic that's basically one scene where Voldemort explains that, what is the real secret of all wizarding magic to Harry, and then, it ends pretty anticlimactically in a sense. It's, just a light bit of crack that will give you a small smile and like a small chuckle, but I don't think it's like super like a funny enough joke for me to like want to revisit over and over again. So like think it'll give you a small chuckle and like give it a look, but it's not going to stay on my list. All right. Number 2 is One Punch Gamer by SaintInfernalNeos. This is a Sword Art Online crossover with One Punch Man, where Kirito, at the start of SAO, Kirito gets the powers of Saitama from One Punch Man, and that leads to, Sword Art Online ending up very different, as well as all the characters surrounding Kirito getting very different stuff. I like this a lot. It's like the One Punch Man anime. The author manages to make the Kirito moments like focus on character drama instead of just being all about just him, one-shotting everything. So it actually makes it interesting and like gives actual stakes, as he's not always there for like the other characters in moments, so there's still tension, and also just things that are there with him because they're character and drama focused. It actually has a push and pull where it's not just solved by him punching everything. And this also leads, because he's not everywhere at once, the girls that he's with, they all get to grow and actually be characters and like get stuff instead of just becoming the unchosen harem of Kirito. So that's a extra bonus point. I like this. Like the crossover element grows as more and more people start like kind of getting some stuff via like becoming One Punch Man analogs and stuff like that as over time, and more elements keep growing until there's a great like original arc that ends ends the fic, which I really liked it because it brings a lot of like action and tension, like the end of season 1 of One Punch Man. And as a bonus, aside from being a complete story and everything that wraps up really well, the author also sneaks in basically a whole side story as omakes in the latter chapters, where of like a Fate Stay Night sequel that brings back all the characters in. So I really recommend this very highly. I enjoy this a lot. It's going to stay on my list. Number 3 is It Gets Worse by AC1308. This is a worm fic where, Taylor gets, instead of getting her powers of, bug control, she basically has a field where anybody who wishes to harm her gets hit by a Rube Goldberg machine of madness. Like, it's crazy. It's like if, the Final Destination God of Death wanted to be just humiliate and highly inconvenience people instead of killing them. I like this a lot. It's a really nice, fun crack that manages to tie up all the loose ends of Worm and finishes in a narrative with a satisfying ending. The takedowns and all the like Rube Goldbergness, like I said, is all really great, and the reactions to everybody surrounding all these things, seeing what's happening, is also really entertaining. I find it really amusing. It's going to stay on my list. Number 4 is How Moody Got His Eye by Spoon and John. This is another one single scene one shot crackfic where we have a younger Moody while he's still in the police, like in the horror force, basically just talking with his police chief to explain why he needs his magical eye. And it's just funny. It's like, it's just filled with a bunch of like ridiculous explanations that he comes up with, and then a bunch of like dry back and forth that's like kind of like you can kind of think of it's like a Monty Python sketch, kind of like basically just a dry comedy sketch. It gave me a small chuckle, and I don't think you need to read it more than once, but I liked it more. Like, I like this one more than the Wizarding Angst fic at the start of this, at the first fic of this video. I like this one a lot. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind coming back and seeing this again, so it's going to stay on my list. Next is Apathy by Sume Yuki. This is a Harry Potter crossover with Death Note, where after it's a female Harry, so after like canon, Harry goes into like the world of death and is the master of death, and she starts becoming detached and jaded from the world, and then eventually comes into the Death Note world basically just when Kira's starting his work, and becomes an acquaintance with Light. So like the main focus here is between Harry and Light's relationship. That's not in a romantic sense because she's like so detached and stuff and trying to learn or like trying to become human again in an emotional sense. And Light, of course, is a sociopath who's like, but also because of their relationship is starting to grow a bit of empathy and like connection to Harry. And it probably could have grown into more romantic stuff or stuff further if the story had continued. But as it is right now, they were still stuck in like they were just growing to care for each other as friends state. And it's interesting, Harry's otherworldliness and her otherworldliness attracts Light's attention, and that makes him value her opinions a bit. So when she suggests like some stuff to make him like less less crazy and megalomaniacal. God, I can't get the word, but like that, like he's a little toned down, or at least not as like kill crazy as canon. And that's there, and the only person that clocks that Harry's unnatural in a sense is Elle. And Elle only really shows up, like he's only there in the last couple chapters of this. But it did start like a small tug of war where he was starting to, one, he knows that she's different, so he's like ready to like completely dissect her kind of in a sense, and two, it starts like a small tug of war for Harry's like time and attention between him and Light. Overall, I found the growing fondness Light and Harry had, and her attempts to like reconfigure her apathetic and broken self back together engaging, but the story itself doesn't stopped and writing. The author stopped writing it before there was any major closure in anything or any major scenes. So that's unsatisfying. It's interesting enough for a look, but I don't think I'm gonna want to revisit this, so it's gonna fall off my list. Number 6 is Raptor by Sakura Demon Alchemist, and this is where instead of a dragon egg in the first Harry Potter book, Hagrid instead has a Velociraptor egg that imprints on Harry, and Harry just makes it as his own familiar, and that changes things. Like, so this is a crossover with Jurassic Park, and what it is like the you would think like, oh, having the Velociraptor means, oh, Harry's just gonna like sick him on Malfoy and everything's gonna happen and stuff, but like the Velociraptor basically acts as a catalyst for Harry's a change in Harry's like attitude and like that stuff. It honestly, this like you can treat the Velociraptor the same way you can treat any other like any other like like the inciting incident for like any confident Harry fic of like, oh, this is a Harry fic where Harry gets his lordships, and so because of that becomes politically or like becomes more confident and starts handling things in a different way. Like that's kind of what the Raptor is for this. Like it over in the main sense, it's still just like a confident Harry or like more savvy Harry fic. But the other bits are kind of interesting. Like there are minor things that the Raptor being there does change to how things work. But like I said, it's more just Harry's new behavior and stuff changes the things. But it does get some changes do happen. We do get like then a truncated set of like the first 4 years of Harry before he basically decides I'm done with Hogwarts and fucks off to be Jurassic Park timeline full time. And I kind of like that, like the Jurassic Park stuff where he's actually interacting with NGen and John Hammond and stuff. that's all the more interesting parts, I feel, than the Harry Potter, the actual like Hogwarts and Voldemort stuff. And I just wish there was a lot more of it. Um, Basically, when the author stopped writing this, we were at the point where he was all basically full time on the island. But that was also and like dealing with the Jurassic Park movies and such. But that also like all of that the scenes are also like really short. Like each movie is essentially like half a chapter or something. Like it's so small. I and that's the thing. Like the majority of this is the Harry Potter side, which I didn't find as interesting. And then the Jurassic Park stuff is interesting, but it's also super condensed and shortened. So I just found it like I wasn't left happy with this. So it's not going to stay on my list. All right, and the final one for this video is reading Naruto the Moon Rabbit by the chef Shipwreck 5897. So this is a reading fic that's actually a sort of sequel, like most reading fics where they do where like usually if they're reacting to multiple things, it'll if it's like a major book or a major thing, they'll put, you know, each story will be its own story in on the website. So this is one of those where Team Ruby was called in and they reacted to this one fic, you know, Naruto the Y. And they did that for like however long that went, and then now that one went hiatus. So now the author moved to this story where they're reading, and then this one goes until this one went on hiatus, and then it goes to the next story. The next story is also on my list in a bit, but the first one's not. So coming into this one, I didn't reread the first one, so there was a bunch of bits in the beginning where they're referencing or like giving small bits to the previous story that, because I didn't reread, was not fresh in my mind, and so I was a little lost. But like overall, you can still read this without reading the first one, and it's not that big of a problem. The problem then I had was that the story itself is not that interesting, and the reactions are not that entertaining to make up for that. There's like one big reaction that is a bit funny where basically they're dealing with not seeing a pregnancy and such, but the story that they're reacting to was very much in the setup phase. We only go from the orientation of Ruby. We don't even get to the first day of class. Like, it's not much, and like I said, the reactions overall are just not entertaining enough, and the story itself is pretty just not engaging enough for me to want to revisit this. So it's gonna fall off my list. So there we have it. 7 more stories I've read. Fan fiction status time. I've now read 1,174 stories in total, and 545 of them have managed to stay on my list. So thank you for watching. As always, I will leave links to each of the stories, the forum where I post this all in written form, playlist for all these videos, all that stuff I'll leave that all in the description. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.